It is 24 hours that have changed the world. The United States, working with Israel, have taken out the leadership of Iran. Iran, the biggest state sponsor of terrorism around the world, the biggest military threat to Israel and its existence, and, of course, the many proxies that exist to the north and south of it. This has been huge. You, of course, have been seeing it play out since about this time last night, when people started to realise just how significant all of this was. This was much bigger than what we had seen earlier in the past few months, when there was just the surgical strike in the middle of the night on 1, 2 and 3 military facilities, those, of course, being the nuclear program. Well, this was about literally a place where the leader of Iran and those who were advising him were meeting, and in real time. The leadership of Iran has been decapitated, meaning there is a power vacuum in that country. But as we speak, as 9 o'clock in Canberra, in Tel Aviv right now, it is in and around lunchtime. It's a live shot from what is happening in Israel right now, where it's just gone midday. The caution there is quite frequent, because while the Iron Dome means that the vast majority of what gets shot towards that country gets blown up in the sky, there are things that do connect, hence why you see what you are starting to see there. In Iran right now, it is 1:30 in the afternoon on Sunday, and it has just gone 5 a.m. in Washington, D.C., and also in Florida, in Mar-a-Lago, where the President of the United States is. Now, there is a bit to report tonight, but I'm pretty sure that if you are watching us now, you've been paying attention for the past couple of days. So I'm not going to go over too much of the detail that you already know. I'm going to focus on what has happened in the past couple of hours, what is likely, possible, plausible in not just the next couple of hours, but again, the next couple of days. Now, to give you an idea here, this is just how many regions right across Iran have been hit in the past 24 hours. Focus on the capital in Tehran, but as you can see, multiple other locations, all military locations in the western half of the country. Why? Because that is the proximity in which there is the ability to launch something and send it a couple of hours west towards Israel. Now, are there more places to hit that would take out the infrastructure of the country that is Iran? Yes, which is why the President of the United States has said previously that this is not one and done, that the expectation is that this is multiples. Now, whether you go hard, you take out the Ayatollah in the past 24 hours, sending a message to everyone from his deputies and down, which is, all right, one last chance to negotiate, or we're going to take you too. Inside Tehran, the hit on the leadership was taking place as they were meeting. Again, think about the levels of intelligence, technology that is required to know behind closed doors who is meeting. Now, in much of the coverage, it's been fascinating to see the little leaks of information about how they were able to work things out. Now, one of the signs may well have been an increase in cell phone use in and around the building in which the Ayatollah was. There may have also been some indications about an increase in the amount of internet activity that was happening in that one place, because as you can see across Tehran, many other places were hit. Again, these weren't just about taking out what were the capacity of the now damaged regime to be able to fire back at Israel, but also to be able to try to not just remove the absolute top of the tree or the head of the snake, but also to start to chop a little further down. Now, of course, the biggest story of the past 24 hours is that the man who has terrorised his own people and threatened the world for decades is now dead.
Yes, Sandra, we just got this in literally 2 minutes ago, but Fox News can confirm that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead following Israeli strikes against his compound and location earlier today.
Geez, you could watch that over and over and over and over and over again, right? Really bad guy gone. This is fantastic news for the world. Most importantly, for the people of the country that he has terrorised for decades, and then, of course, to the allies of the West that exist in Israel, but also to Arab countries that don't want to play the same game as Iran over the past 10 years in particular. As you've seen, places like Qatar host things like a World Cup. Yes, they've also been a safe haven for Hamas terrorists, but they have not been throwing the types of missiles that have been coming from places like Iran, again, Jordan, the UAE, lots of other places that are trying to present a very different front than the closed door that is there when it comes to Iran. Now, in terms of the global leadership, the countries that were not directly involved in the strikes, but certainly have come out to support them in the past 24 hours, has been the three nations that had previously sided against the United States and against Israel on diplomacy matters, including about the recognition of Palestine. But they understand that there are many complicating factors here, and wiping the Iranian leadership off the board is good for everyone.
The United Kingdom played no role in these strikes, but we have long been clear the regime in Iran is utterly abhorrent.
Ayatollah Khamenei was responsible for the regime's ballistic missile and nuclear program, support for armed proxies, and its brutal acts of violence and intimidation against its own people. He was responsible for orchestrating attacks on Australian soil. His passing will not be mourned.
Canada stands with the Iranian people in their long and courageous struggle against this oppressive regime, and we reaffirm Israel's right to defend itself. Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security.
Now, the farce that is the United Nations, George W. Bush back in 2003 essentially rendered them powerless in their ability to restrain the United States from doing what the United States wants to do. Well, there was plenty of flapping of gums and waving of fingers, and the veto power of Russia and China, which previously has been able to help out regimes like Iran, well, has been pushed aside, which means you just got speeches, not much else, at the United Nations Security Council that met today.
The number of innocent civilians continues to rise. This is not only an act of aggression, it is a war crime and a crime against humanity. The justification advanced by the representative of the United States today are illegal and entirely devoid of legal foundation. The baseless allegation invoked to defend this unlawful use of force have no standing under international law.
How dare anyone representing this barbarous regime talk about civilians? Remember when millions of people were taking to the streets of Iran? Thousands of them were murdered in 2 days because they took to the streets. They took to the streets to try to overthrow the people who have kept them in relative poverty and certainly cut off from the rest of the world for decades. A place that treats anything that is not approved by the regime as a threat to the regime. That includes women, it includes homosexuals, it includes people who, believe in any other God or any other version of Islam than the version of which they choose to practice. To pretend that innocent civilians is a card that they get to play, thinking that they somehow are going to invoke the so-called popular support that has existed for places like Palestine and Gaza is a disgrace. That is just a disgrace for them to be even thinking to go there. Now, I don't say that in reference to a slide on Israel. It's just the reality of what we have seen taking to the streets around the world in the past couple of years. The reaction to this, very different, very, very different. Part of Iran's response has been, and even after the death of the person who theoretically would be able to order these strikes, is that, as you know, they have been hitting lots of fellow Arab nations. Now, they have been hitting fellow Arab nations that have either got American infrastructure in them or military bases, or have either been sitting on the sidelines of the most recent violence that has happened over the past couple of years. Now, as you can see, Iran has hit Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, it's hit airports, it's hit hotels, and yes, it is trying to hit the military facilities because in the map that hopefully I've got up here for you in a second here, the water areas, that's where, of course, the US Navy has been able to launch much of what they have been able to do in the past 24 hours. Now, amazingly and importantly to see here, the celebrations from the people who have ended up in other countries because of the brutality of the Islamist regime that has now been in place for the best part of 50 years means there is a very significant Iranian diaspora around the world. There were celebrations in the streets of Sydney tonight. We'll show you those photos a little bit later, but some of the celebrations extending as far as New York City are worth noting. A bad guy died today.
The celebration is striking. We got here just moments after initial reports, initial rumors of the death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei had just started to trickle from Iran to this diaspora community, and people were jumping in excitement, hugging each other, crying, saying that basically they've been waiting 47 years for this very day, Jessica. It is the reason so many of them have come out here today. I want you to hear from one of them specifically, his thoughts right after learning that the supreme leader of Iran was dead.
When is the last time you saw people in Israel and Iran dancing on the streets in excitement? And when is the last time you've ever heard of a country coming out and dancing because they're excited that foreign powers are attacking them?
Now, some of the reaction has been interesting to note here, that there is a clasp of people in the United States who believe that things like this don't help the United States. Now, they exist in the extreme left, but they are also starting to pop up in the protectionist right. Tucker Carlson has been somebody highly critical of Israel and supposed influence over the United States. And he has apparently spoken to a reporter in the past couple of days working for ABC America, suggesting that he's absolutely disgusted and thinks that the attacks were evil. He also suggests that there will be a significant effect on Trump's political movement. This is going to shuffle the deck in a profound way. I'm not imagining Tucker Carlson et al. Are about to run off towards the Democrats anytime soon because well, this in part is what the highest of profile Democrats is saying, the newly elected mayor of New York.
Today's military strikes by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal act of war, of aggression. Bombing cities, killing civilians, opening up a new theater of war. Americans do not want this. Americans do not want another war in pursuit of regime change. We want an answer to the affordability crisis. We want peace.
This is outrageous, all right? Now, Iran and its effect around the world, including, remember, Australia expelled the ambassador from Iran because Iran was involved in problems here. Iran is one of the automatic 3 suspects that always happen when it comes to international influence, cybersecurity. So that's us here in Australia, let alone in a place like New York City, let alone places like London. MTG, again, the former Republican congresswoman, she too has screeded that all of this is the wrong thing, no more foreign wars, no more regime change. Now, I was highly critical of almost everything about the Iraq war. I recognise the bravery of the service of the men and women who were involved in it, the painful price that has been paid by too many. But that was all about, remember, the fake weapons of mass destruction. Also, remember the way that war worked, which essentially was US troops on the ground going from the outer borders of Iraq all the way into Baghdad and then the hand-to-hand combat because the military had fallen away in Iraq and it was the insurgents and the terrorists that ended up taking over. Well, this is, to this moment, something that is only happening from up high. It's the President of the United States who is not saying that it's going to be American troops that are going to go door to door to get rid of the government. Instead, it is a task that he is putting onto the Iranian people. The only problem, of course, is that the Iranian people who are not friendly to the regime have been unarmed. They do not have weapons. Their capacity to be able to confront them in a military sense is very difficult. It is about people power, and that is people power that we have seen this regime, no matter who is leading it, is brutal in the way that it is dealing with it.